Imagine walking through the winding streets of Ottoman Istanbul, the air thick with spices and whispers. Tonight, with the Dreamer's Caravan, we're following Kemal Efendi, a quiet clerk who discovers a mysterious ledger entry, a shipment of hollow pomegranates that vanished decades ago. We will follow him through coffeehouses, docks, and secret corners of the magical city, uncovering hidden stories and forgotten intrigue. Stay with me whilst Istanbul's secrets unfold around us. The Pomegranate Ledger. Chapter 1: The Clerk and the Ledger. Kemal Efendi had an unremarkable desk in an unremarkable office, which suited him very well. The room smelled faintly of ink and wool, as most offices in the customs house did, and if you sat by the window you could hear the cries of porters in the streets below, struggling with crates of figs and olive oil. From time to time, a donkey would bray as if it, too, were protesting the empire's tax system. Kemal was not important, though he had once convinced himself he might become so. In his youth he had dreamt of rising through the ranks of the bureaucracy, perhaps even sitting in the divan one day. But he discovered he lacked the necessary ambition, or perhaps the necessary cruelty. Now, in his late 30s, he was content with ledgers, tea, and his cats. It was on a Tuesday evening in early spring, an evening when the Bosphorus smelled sharply of salt and rain, that Kemal noticed the oddity. He had stayed late to balance the books of the previous quarter. The lamplight trembled across the page as he dipped his pen, muttering to himself in the absent-minded way clerks often do. And there it was. Shipment of 112 pomegranates. Consignee, H.T. Umavrakis. Dock, Galata. Date, 1169 AH. Kemal frowned. Not at the fruit, pomegranates came in by the cartload. But the year, 20 years earlier. And the signature beneath it was from an official whose name he had never seen before. He traced the calligraphy with his finger. The loops and flourishes were too elegant, almost theatrical. It did not look like the hand of a tired customs officer. He turned the page. Nothing. No receipt of arrival, no duty collected, no merchant seal. The shipment had vanished into thin air. At first, he considered closing the ledger and forgetting it. But there was something peculiar in the neatness of the handwriting, as if whoever had written it wanted to be noticed, even decades later. By Friday, after prayers at the mosque, Kemal admitted to himself that he was curious. Not in the sense of catching a criminal, but in the sense of understanding a puzzle someone else had left behind. He would start small, a question here, a visit there. And so his quiet adventure began. Chapter 2: The Coffeehouse Poet. The first person Kemal consulted was Murad Bey, a poet who spent most of his time in a coffeehouse near the Valens aqueduct. His verses were not celebrated at court, but among barbers, porters, and dice players, they carried a strange charm. The coffeehouse smelled of cardamom, tobacco, and damp wool. Pipes gurgled on every table. Murad Bey sat gesturing wildly, balancing his tea glass on a stack of folded papers. Kemal Efendi, he boomed. Sit. Sit. The city is like a poem written in vinegar, sharp, sour, yet oddly refreshing. Kemal eased into a chair. Murad Bey, have you ever heard of H.T. Umavrakis? The poet tilted his head. Greek? Armenian? Or perhaps he never existed. Many men in this city do not exist, yet they eat fish and pay rent. Kemal leaned forward. A shipment of pomegranates, 20 years ago. No record after that. Murad sipped tea. Ah, pomegranates. Fruit of paradise, and bookkeeping nightmares. If a merchant wished to launder gold or letters, pomegranates are perfect. Durable, discreet. He leaned closer. Ask the dockworkers in Galata. They remember all that passes through their hands. Ships, crates, even the faces of sailors who stay only one night. The sea writes its own ledgers in memory. Chapter 3: The Boatman's Memory. Galata's waterfront was a muddied stage where dozens of dramas unfolded daily. Sailors shouted in Greek, Italian, and Arabic. Porters heaved barrels. Gulls swooped and argued over scraps. Kemal found an old boatman, Stavros, mending a net. His hands were cracked, his beard flecked with salt. "Stavros," Kemal began cautiously, "do you remember a merchant called Mavrakis?" The boatman snorted. "Remember? I remember coins dropped 20 years ago. Mavrakis brought cargo at night. Never figs or olives, always something curious. Rugs, sometimes letters, sometimes other things. One night, pomegranates. Hollow. Hollow? Stuffed. Gold or letters? We never asked. A boatman's eyes are worth less than his tongue." Kemal felt a thrill. Hollow pomegranates, smuggled under the customs house's nose. Who would record such a shipment? Who signed the shipment? Kemal pressed. A man with soft hands and sharp eyes. Smelled of roses. Men like that do not belong on docks, Stavros spat into the water. Chapter 4 The Archivist of Foti. Back in Foti, Kemal visited Halim Ham, an archivist at the Wak Library. Short, sharp-tongued, always carrying a reed pen behind her ear. A phantom official, she asked after hearing Kemal's story. Then don't ask poets and boatmen. Ask the ghosts of bureaucracy itself. She returned with a folio of signatures from that era. Side by side, they compared the mysterious flourish to known hands. "This is deliberate forgery," she said. "See the curve of the final letter? Not hiding. Wanting to be noticed. Why leave a breadcrumb?" Kemal asked. "Secrets rot if buried," she replied. Someone wanted to be remembered. Or found. Chapter 5 The Janissary's Whisper. A retired janissary named Khalid kept a teahouse tucked between two caravanserais. He remembered the city in ways no ledger could capture: whispers, bribes, the touch of a coin in a cloak, the subtle hierarchies that held the city together. When Kemal mentioned Mavrakis and the pomegranates, Khalid leaned closer, lowering his voice so only Kemal could hear over the clatter of cups. "Hollow pomegranates," Khalid said. "Yes. I remember. Not for eating, no. For knowledge. Men smuggled manuscripts through the docks. Forbidden books. Letters from Cairo, Aleppo, maps, diagrams, recipes for medicines the Sultan would frown upon. The fruit hid them, the crates disguised them. Only the clever knew." Kemal shivered. The ledger's missing shipment suddenly felt alive, a story pulsing beneath the surface of the city. "Why record it at all?" Kemal asked. Khalid smiled faintly, showing teeth darkened by years of coffee. "A breadcrumb, Effendi. To be found by someone patient enough to follow the trail. Someone who can read between the lines. Knowledge like this cannot disappear entirely, you see. Someone had to remember." Kemal nodded slowly, understanding dawning. This was not mere smuggling, nor greed, it was preservation. A secret chain of men and women across the city, quietly ensuring that knowledge survived the tides of politics and time. As he left the tea house, the city felt different. The Bosphorus gleamed like ink spilled on parchment, the calls to prayer were punctuated by the soft clatter of distant carts, and Kemal sensed that Istanbul itself was a ledger, recording its own hidden stories, waiting for those who cared to notice. Chapter 6 Reflections. Over the following days, Kemal retraced small steps along the docks, through the coffeehouses, and into dusty libraries. Each visit confirmed what Khalid had said. Mavraki's shipments were designed to disappear from official notice while leaving subtle traces for attentive eyes. He reflected on the poet Murad Bey's words, Aram's scribe ledgers, the Imam's cautious hints, and Ezra's moneylender wisdom. Together, they painted a picture of a city alive with secrets, networks, and hidden memories, preserved across generations in objects as ordinary as crates of fruit. One evening, Kemal returned to the Bosphorus. The lamps from Galata cast long reflections in the water. Ships creaked gently in the mist. For a moment, he closed his eyes and imagined the hollow pomegranates, the manuscripts within them, the hands that moved silently to protect knowledge. He understood that the mystery was not a crime, nor a scandal, but a lesson. History, memory, and human ingenuity often hide in plain sight, and the city itself is a living ledger. By observing carefully and patiently, one can uncover its subtle currents. Kemal returned home, his cats curling around him. He poured tea into a chipped cup, opened the ledger, and smiled at the elegant flourish that had started it all. He did not need to solve a mystery in the usual sense. He had witnessed something more enduring, the quiet survival of knowledge, the invisible threads connecting people across time, and the heartbeat of a city that never truly forgets. The Bosphorus whispered outside his window. Istanbul hummed with life and memory. And Kemal, at last, felt the profound calm of understanding. This was the Pomegranate Ledger, with the Dreamer's Caravan. Thank you for joining me on this first journey into the hidden corners of Istanbul past. This is my first video, and I hope it has transported you into the streets, markets, and whispers of history. I am really keen to hear your feedback in the comments. I plan to share more immersive, high-quality stories that celebrate heritage, culture, and the timeless tales that have shaped our culture. If you enjoyed this, I look forward to seeing you for the next adventure.